Okay. So I don't have a protractor because I'm short on some.
You got mine.
It's okay. All right, so parallel lines and transversals. So in this picture below right here, lines X and Y are parallel lines. And remember, parallel lines are lines that run together and they never cross. Line T is the transversal. And the transversal is the line that intersects that line. Now it says, use a protractor to measure each of the 8 angles that were formed. Hey, Isaac, throw me your protractor for a second.
Whoa, don't break it.
Okay. Shh. The way that you use a protractor is you're going to take the little circle, put it on the angle, make sure your line is lined up. Okay? So make sure that, I can't see where, make sure that's lined up on the angle, and then you just follow that line straight out. So this little circle right here is lined up perfectly on the angle. This black line right here goes on the line. And then when you follow that out, that tells me that this line, angle A, is how much? 120. And what's angle B? 60. And the way that I know that is because this is 90, right? This is 90. So angle A is bigger than 90, so I'm measuring on the top. But angle B is smaller than 90, so I'm measuring on the bottom. So this angle is 120 and this angle is 60. All right, so I want you to take a minute and I want you to measure your other angles.
Aren't they the same?
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I want you to practice using that protractor for a second. Okay, so when you measured this one, you should have found that this was 60 and this was 120. When you measured down here, you should have found that this was 120, this was 60, this was 120, and this was 60. All right, so it says, what do you notice about the angle measures? And then list which angles have the same measures. Okay, well, what we notice here is that there's only 2 different angle measures. So only 2 different angle measures. So the only 2 angle measures I have are 60 and 120. And it looks like the angles A, C, E, and H are all 120. And that B, D, F, and G are all 60. Now, here's my question. What does the word exterior mean? Outside. What's interior? Inside. So like if I was talking about this building and I say what's on the exterior, you all would tell me it was the bricks. The interior are the drywall walls. Okay. So looking at this picture, exterior are the angles that are on the outside. Interior are the angles that are on the inside. So these angles up here, these are exterior. Down here at the bottom, these are exterior. And the ones that are between the two parallel lines are the angles that are interior. So these are outside the parallel lines, so they're the exterior. These four angles come between the two parallel lines, so those are interior angles because they're inside the two parallel lines. The other out here, these are angles that are outside the parallel lines, so they're the exterior. Now, those words are going to be important to be able to determine which angles we're talking about. Savannah? Yeah. All right, so down here, we're going to talk about some special pairs of angles that are made when we have that transversal that cuts those parallel lines. Okay, so the first angles are the vertical angles, and vertical angles are opposite angles. So pairs of opposite angles that are formed by intersecting lines. So some angles that are vertical. The word vertical means that they are across from each other. So like angles A and C are vertical angles because they're across from each other. B and D are angles that are vertical because they're across from each other. Can somebody give me another example? E and H are vertical angles because they're across from each other. And what's the other one? F and G, right here because they're across from each other. Now, what do you notice about all these angles that are across from each other? These two, and then these two, and then these two, and then these two, Ryan? They're the same angle. So they are congruent angles. The word congruent means same. So if I know that E is 120 and I know that E and H are vertical, then I would automatically know that H was 120. Same thing with G and F. If I know that F is 60 and that F and G are vertical, automatically I know that G is 60. All right, straight angles are angles that form a straight line and add up to 180. That word, what's the word that describes angles that add up to 180? I know. Supplementary. All right, so some examples of some supplementary angles are any angles that are on a straight line. So like up here, A and B. A and B are supplementary angles because they're both on a straight line. G and H. G and H are supplementary angles because they're both on a straight line. Also they could be this way. So like F and G or F and H. F and H are also straight line angles because they're on the same straight line, which is actually this line. Anybody else give me another example? All right, Trevor. B and C, correct. Anybody else? All right, Taryn. D and A, correct. What did we say? G and H, E and F, E and G, B and C. So any two angles that are on a straight line and add up to 180 are straight lines, straight angles. All right, here's where we're going to get into some of these new words. Because these two skills are actually taught in 7th grade math, vertical angles and straight angles. They're called supplementary angles. But these are what's new for us, these next three. Alternate interior angles. Okay. So alternate interior angles are angles that are inside the parallel lines and on opposite sides of the transversal. So that word opposite is very important. Okay, so I'm going to move my picture back up so we can look at it and find some alternate interior angles. Okay, so my picture, when I'm talking about interior angles, I'm only talking about these four right here because those are the only ones that are interior. So alternate are the ones that are on opposite sides of the transversal. So D and F. Are the only other one E and C, because they're the only ones that are interior but on opposite sides of the transversal. And what do we notice about D and F? They're both 60. Don't add up to 60, but they're both 60. What about E and C? They're both 120. So we can assume that all alternate interior angles are also congruent. I guess we didn't put this up here, but that should say 180. So all alternate interior angles are congruent. Okay, alternate exterior, okay, are angles that are outside the parallel lines and are on opposite sides of the transversal. So basically the same definition as alternate interior, except for they are alternate exterior. So I've got to pick angles that are on the outsides of those parallel lines. All right, so I'll move my paper back down. Okay, so I'm looking just in here and down here. So it looks like A and H are on opposite exterior, so A and H. And what's the other one? B and G. Because B is on the exterior, G is on the exterior, and they're opposite sides of the transversal. So B and G. Now, what do you notice about A and H? They both are 120. What do you all notice about G and B? They're both 60. They're both 60. So once again, we can assume that for alternate exterior angles, they are also congruent. So they're also the same. All right, and then the last one, corresponding angles. So those are angles that look like they're in the same spot. Okay, so it looks like they're in the same matching corners. Or in the middle of something. So I'm going to go back out to the picture and we're going to talk about corresponding angles. So when you look at these corresponding angles, it's like you're looking at this set and this set, okay? So I'm looking for ones that appear to be in the same spot. So A, what other angle appears to be in the same spot as A? E. Okay, What angle appears to be in the same spot as D? G. What angle appears to be in the same spot as B? F. And then C? H. And you should notice that A and E are both 120. D and G are both 60. B and F are both 60. C and H are both 120. So we could say that corresponding angles are also congruent. So that was like A and E and F and B. So just put a couple examples in there. All right, so we're going to apply these 5 angles to some problems on the back. So we're going to flip back and forth a little bit to kind of refer. All right. So it says, use what you know about parallel lines and transversals to label each of the missing angles in the picture below. It says, notice that when parallel lines are crossed by a transversal, any 2 pairs of the angles formed will either be, and we learned this on the other side, congruent or supplementary. We learned that from the other side because every set of angles were either congruent the same or they'll be straight lines supplementary. And what is supplementary? Adds to 180. All right. No, because they don't add to 60, you said. They don't add to 60. Supplementary is 180, and that's the only thing they can add to. All right, now, when I was teaching angle relationships in the Math 7 class, we talked about how if they ever gave you a blank picture, the thing that you should do first is fill in vertical angles, because those are always the easiest. Okay, so 75, the vertical angle that goes with 75 is this one. And what do we know about vertical angles? They're the same, they're equal. So this is 75 as well. Okay. Now, if I wanted to fill in this angle, which one of those angle definitions would I use? Because these are on, because they're on, Preston, a straight line. So these 2 angles right here are on a straight line because they're on this same line, which makes them 180. So 180 minus 75 is 105. Because if they're on a straight line, they should add to 180. And then look, if this is 105, this is its vertical angle. So this is 105. And then it's like a mirror image because after that, these angles are corresponding angles down here. So if they're in the same spot, they're congruent. So if this is 75, so is this. If this is 105, so is this. If this is 105, so is this. If this is 75, so is this. All right, I'm going to let you all take a look at 1 and 2. But it says line R is parallel to line S. The measure of angle 2 is 55. So look at how I filled these in up here. I want you to fill in the picture, and then I want you to answer those 2 questions. Audrey, did you already do it? I didn't think so. We're talking to Trevor and do it. Okay. said you didn't do the problem yet. You'll be fine, I promise. You're actually.
ADHD got a little
Obsessed.
with the protractor, and I kind of do
All right, go sit down.
Can I use it?
No, we're in the middle of something.
Oh my god.
Yesterday, Dad stuck his hand out while somebody was running down the line. I said, "What are you doing?" I'm not doing
All right. So, shh. Frank. All right, so if this is 55, this is a vertical angle, which is also 55. Then I know that these are both on a straight line, so I know that they should be 180. So 180 minus 55 is 125. So this is also 125. Then these are corresponding parts. So if angle 1 is 125, so is this one. If this is 55, so is this one, 125 and 55. All right, it says find the measure of angle 3. What is angle 3? And how did we know that that was 55? Because of which one of those rules? Vertical angles. Because if we knew that angle 2 is 55, we could automatically assume that this one is 55. So they're vertical angles. All right, angle 7. What's the measure of angle 7? 55. And we know that because if this is angle 3, this is angle 7, these are corresponding parts. Okay. All right, so questions 3 and 4 are the same. They're just papers just tilted sideways. Okay, but you would use the same rule. So I want you all to do 3 and 4. And then if you finish those pretty quick and you want to answer number 5, you can. Yeah.
I wanted $250
All right. So we know that angle 5 is 102, which means angle 8 is also 102 because they're vertical angles. Cameron, what'd you get for angle 7? 78? It's just Frank. Okay, so if this is 78, because these are on a straight line, so that's how I knew that this was 78, because 102 plus 78 is 180. These are corresponding angles, so this is also 78. Then I could also do my corresponding parts and know that angle 5 is 102. So is angle 1. Angle 7 is 78, so is angle 3, 78, and 102. Now, it says find the measure of angle 4. Shh. Angle 4 was 102. How do you know that? Okay, so corresponding angles, we did do that. So you could say because angle 8 and angle 4 are corresponding angles. So that's one thing you could say.
You can do 5 more.
Okay. I said on my paper, I said because angle 5 and angle 4 are alternate interior angles. Or you could say because angle 4 and angle 6 are on a straight line, you know that angle 4 is 102. Okay. Any 3 of those would work perfect. So I said that 5 and 4 are alternate interior angles. All right, and then number 4, the measure of angle 1. We also see that that's 102. And we found that one because the matching because 5 and 1 are corresponding parts. All right, if you haven't done number 5, take a second. Do number 5. All right. So it says that you're supposed to refer back to this problem right here. So angle 2. So here's angle 2. Angle 2 and angle 8. They say are corresponding angles. That means they're in the same spot. Are those in the same spot?
False.
No, so that one is false. Okay. What are angle 2 and angle 8? Or I guess it says if a statement is false, explain why. That's because they're not in the same location. Or not in the same corresponding part is fine. Okay, the next one, angle 3 and angle 5 are congruent angles. No, they're not congruent angles. They're actually what kind of angles? They're actually straight angles, which is supplementary. You're right. Okay. Okay, angle 1 and angle 8. So here's angle 1 and angle 8 are alternate interior angles. No, what are they? They're alternate exterior angles. Stop. All right, angle 5. So angle 5 and angle 8 are vertical angles. True, they are vertical angles because they're directly across from each other. And then angle 1 and angle 7 are supplementary. True, because 102 plus 78 is 180. All right, there is a homework that goes with this.